first thing that we should be looking at is serving size. And the reason for that is because, let's say I'm going to take this bag of dried cranberries and say, oh, this whole bag has 130 calories. That's not so bad. So then you'll eat this entire thing. But then if you look at the serving size, it's actually a quarter of a cup. So it's really not the entire bag at all. Sometimes it will say how many servings are in the bag. This one doesn't say, so I don't actually know. But it's really important that we're doing that, because especially if we're somebody who has diabetes and we say, oh, 130, there's 26 grams of added sugar, which is already a lot of added sugar, but we're like, okay, whatever, we're just going to have a little added sugar, fine, this is what it's going to be. But then you're really having 7 times that amount. That is so much added sugar, and that can be so detrimental to our blood sugars. So it's super, super important that we're aware of the serving sizes. It is the first thing we should be looking at. I tell people, especially with diabetes, we really should be looking at carbohydrates and sugar, definitely added sugar. Protein is super important. We want to know protein and fiber. Those are the things I look at. I actually don't care as much about calories. I know that sounds crazy, because calories are not created equal, right? 100 calories of an apple and 100 calories of jelly beans are not equal. In the apple, we're getting fiber, we're getting vitamins and minerals, and we're getting pretty much empty calories in the jelly bean. So I don't care as much. I'm not saying don't look at it, but I don't care as much about it. So really we want to do serving size, carbohydrates, which fall under that sugar and added sugar, protein and fiber. That is really what I care about. And of course, ingredients, and especially when we have younger kids. Unfortunately, ingredients in those lists that we just don't love, really something that we want to focus on. I'm going to stop here and just continue a little bit on complication of untreated diabetes and blood sugars that are not controlled, our foot ulcers and things within the feet. It's super, super important that we have our sugars in control for the most part. Obviously, sometimes during the day, we can have a little ups, downs. Sometimes a few times a week, we can have some ups, downs. That's okay, as long as they're generally controlled. If we have long-term uncontrolled diabetes, we can really end up with a lot of complications. I'm going to focus here on foot care. We can end up with foot ulcers that are very painful. That 8 years ago, when I worked in the long-term care facility, I went around on wound care rounds, and it was primarily a lot of people with uncontrolled diabetes who had foot ulcers, and they were doing the wound care on that. And it was painful for me to watch that, but you could tell how painful that was for these patients. And unfortunately, even if you have uncontrolled diabetes and it causes this foot ulcer, it's very easy for it to continue and to continue to be a complication. Even if then you generally get your blood sugars under control, once you get it once, it's very likely that it will come back. So it is really important that we're controlling those blood sugars. There are a ton of complications, but foot ulcers are definitely a big one. We should be taking care of our feet. I know it's funny when I say a pedicure, but going to a podiatrist, getting our feet cleaned, making sure our toenails are clean, just taking care of our feet, because there are a lot of complications with that, and they can sometimes be deadly. As much as I hate to use that word, they really can. My recipe today will include making our own granola. And the reason I'm teaching this is because when you go to a supermarket and you pick up a bag of granola, even if you're looking at those serving sizes, there is so much sugar in them, and we think that it's healthy and we think that it's good because it's granola. Making your own will completely reduce the amount of sugar that's in there, and it will be the better option for us, and we'll get there when we get to my recipe. But I can't emphasize enough how important it is to make sure that our blood sugars are generally under control.
I just want to put a plug in. If you make your own granola, it'll make your home smell really nice too.
That is
just
true.
saying, it's like an extra little added bonus.
That is
there.
so true.
Yes, we love the smell of granola. As we're international, this week I'm actually doing a recipe from Cambodia. It's a zucchini recipe, and some of the ingredients that they use. And I also wanted to keep it diabetic friendly. So I'm going to start off with a couple of the same ingredients as we used last week, but there is a twist to it. I've always wanted to use this, and I'm actually so excited to use it. I tried to get the fresh version, but I couldn't. But it's lemongrass. I've actually never used it, and I've been excited to use it. I tasted it this morning. It's actually really good. So I would definitely recommend it. I'm happy I'm using it. Finally, my first thing in the pan, I have fresh ginger. I'm going to put some fresh garlic cloves. I have so many beautiful colors today. I use lots of veggies, and I did use a protein today. I have some dry edamames. I put some of them in, and some peanuts, and I have peanut butter as a dressing. So there is my garlic and ginger. So I'm going to turn that up a little bit now. Now we're going to use a teaspoon of lemongrass. This is half. A little bit more.
It's so convenient. Because I always have the lemongrass like stalks, and I think if it's something that you traditionally cook with, that doesn't intimidate you, but for me it does.
And you know what? This is something you can meal prep with. If you just want to change the flavor up a little bit. I love a stir fry, you know, I'm big on veggies, you know that. And as you can imagine, you're getting the aromatics are coming up now. You can smell them. So I'm going to put the carrots. I've got some fresh carrots that I'm going to put in there.
You've got the literal rainbow there.
I have the rainbow today, yep.
Eat the rainbow.
Yeah.
Yep.
Put them aside. You can definitely use your own protein if you want to add a tofu to this, or you can add a shrimp, a chicken, whatever you decide. We're going to keep it vegan today. So next I'm going to add in some of my peppers. So I have some peppers here, all different colors.
And just a reminder too, like we've talked about before, is like you start with the sort of most dense vegetables and then you're working your way towards the least.
The colors are absolutely stunning.
Oh, yeah, that's gorgeous. Like sunshine.
And also we have some bean shoots, something a little different. So we're going to add them. I'm probably rushing through the veggies a little bit because I really want to show everything in the pan. I made these zucchini noodles and I'm going to cook them right at the end. But when you come to the end after you finish, you know,
the noodle,
you always have like little bits left over. We're not going to waste them. No waste.
Throw that in
We're
there.
going to suck them and they're a little bit chunky, but that's okay.
Zucchini on zucchini is cool.
Zucchini on zucchini, exactly. And I called my spinach. I have to have a leafy green.
Perfect. And you add that last because it takes no time at all to.
Yeah. And I'm going to actually put the zucchini noodles separate. I'm going to put this all in a bowl. And the zucchini noodles is literally like 2 seconds. It's like, I'm just going to like warm it full. I don't want it cold. If I make a bolognese with it, I'd let the hot sauce cook it. But if it cooks meal, I want it to like, I mean, more like veggies. I want it to make sure it's nice and warm. So I'm going to put these into the bowl for now. And I'll probably come back to them after. Just wanted to give it a good idea. And I'm going to make a really delicious sauce. Oh, zucchini noodles. I actually peeled these earlier. I put a tiny touch of salt on them to draw all the water out so they're nice and dry. They're literally going to go in the pan for, like I said, for 2 seconds. The ones on the top got really long, so you can see that in this. So there's my zucchini noodles. Then I'll plate them and then we'll see if I can go back in for a couple more minutes. I'm going to put that to the side while I show you how to make this sauce. I finally got my machine. To me, from me, love me. That's the way to do it. So we're going to go with some peanut butter. So we'll put the peanut butter in there. And it really blends nice. 1 teaspoon of soy sauce. Just a tiny touch. Then a teaspoon of honey. So I'm going to put a teaspoon of honey in there. Fish sauce.
Did you know they make vegan fish sauce? They make vegan fish sauce and vegan oyster sauce. Isn't that crazy?
They do make vegan oyster sauce because I get the vegan oyster sauce. It's good.
Oh, good.
Throwing that out there because that's another one that you think of. You can't add that flavor to things, but they make alternatives.
I put lime in there. You know what? I actually added the lime to it because I looked at a different couple of recipes, and the lime for me, it took away the salt a little bit. It was a little bit salty. It was still really good, but I just thought just give it a little touch of lime, and then a tiny touch of sesame oil. And then we are going to blend this. If it stays very thick, you just add a little bit of water to it, which I had to earlier. But I put less peanut butter this time. It definitely needs a little bit of water in there, so I'm going to add a little bit because you want it to go all over the stir-fry veggies. I didn't cook this sauce, it just goes directly on. I think it's still too thick, actually, to be honest with you. I'm going to add more water. You can see the result. I'll show you what the M1 comes out. But that is the sauce. And like I said, just add water till you get it to the consistency that you want. Also with these, we put some grated hard mango in there. So I have some grated hard mango. And it's full of herbs and onions. We have some scallions cut up here. So we're going to just put some of them on the top. And I'm going to keep to the end result. So here's my end result.
Oh wow, that looks
cut it out. That is so nice.
So here's my, so you see the sauce, I made it like a little,
oh my god,
like this sticker. So
do you have little flowers on?
I do. I have a little flower.
Oh my God, that's so cute.
And then you put fresh peanuts on it as well. Obviously, if you are allergic to peanuts, don't use it. And with the peanut butter, you can use tahini if you want to make
Yeah,
it.
it's a really good. It's a good swap.
Switch out.
And my water of the week, I'm going into herbs with the water because I've been doing all the. We're going to do rosemary and apple, so it's sweet.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
really good. That's a
Yeah.
good combination.
So that's it.
Delicious.
Yum. Awesome.
So I am doing today something super easy. You really all can do this. I am doing a matcha yogurt bowl with a homemade granola. So the reason I want to do the homemade granola, because as I mentioned before, when you go into a supermarket and you pick up a bag of granola, we think that it's super healthy because it's granola, but there's so much added sugar in there. I actually saw one recently that had almost 40 grams of sugar. Most of it obviously was added sugar, and it really made me angry. I make homemade granola all the time. I keep it in the freezer. It's so good, so easy, and so much less sugar than anything we're going to buy. So we're going to just get some regular rolled oats, and I'm going to pour that into a pan or a baking sheet. I'm just using a regular pan. It doesn't really matter. You're going to want to clump it up actually so that it cooks together. Then I'm going to make my little mixture. You can use olive oil. You can use a regular neutral oil if you want also, but I'm going to use olive oil, some olive oil, about 1/4 cup, a tiny bit of salt, a little bit of salt. Not much, just a little bit of salt. And then we're going to do about 2 tablespoons, or actually even less, about 1.5 tablespoons of maple syrup. That's obviously what's going to keep it together. So I have my oats. Before we put this on, I'm going to put in my extra additives. I'm going to do just a little bit of dried cranberries. Remember, we spoke about there really is a lot of sugar in dried fruit. I'm just going to do a sprinkle of them just because I happen to love the consistency of it and just the taste, but you don't need too much of them. And then you can do any sort of nuts and seeds. I'm doing sunflower seeds. We're going to get some healthy fats in there, a little bit of protein there, and I'm going to put that there. So that's what this looks like before we put in our olive oil and maple syrup mixture. Going to mix that really well. And then you're just going to pour that over, and then you should probably use a glove because it gets really sticky. You're going to just mush it together, but you want to make those clumps because that's what's going to make it clumpy, and that's the good stuff. Obviously, you don't need to if you don't like it clumpy, but I do. So you're going to make some clumps while you put it together, and then you're going to put it in 375 oven for about 15 to 20 minutes, and then throw that in the oven. It smells so good. It is so delicious. I'll show you the end result, and then I'll show you how I make my matcha yogurt. So this is my end result. Could have even gone in a little bit longer, but it's nice and brown. It still smells amazing when it came out a while ago from the oven. Now I'm going to show you how I make my matcha yogurt. So the first thing I'm going to do is I already made this. You want to make it very pasty. So you're going to put a little bit of matcha in with some hot water, and you're going to melt it, and you want to make it super, super pasty so that we don't water down our yogurt. Then we're going to take some plain yogurt. I do whole milk just because I'm a big whole milk fan, but you guys do what works for you. So with some plain yogurt, and then we're just going to do a tiny bit. You can actually add as much or as little as you want of the matcha. Again, make sure it's pretty pasty so that it's not watering it down. So I'm going to do, this is like a teaspoon, and I'm doing, I would say, a heaping 1/2 teaspoon. And then we're going to mix that into the yogurt. It's so good. I can't even tell you how delicious the yogurt is with the matcha. It is such a good flavor. It's so light, but it adds a really nice flavor to it. I also used an unsweetened matcha, and I would probably do that just because there is sometimes sugar in it. You can make it as dark or as light as you want. This looks exactly how I like it. And then I have all these fruits to add. So I'll show you the end result. I did some dark chocolate just because I love that. I did some homemade granola. I did
beautiful.
Some dragon fruit, pink and yellow, some berries, and some apricots. And this is it. It is truly amazing. I made myself one before when I was making it, and it is addicting. Super easy to make, and I hope you guys enjoy it.